Chapter 1. The Weight of Shadows and the Promise of Light. The city of Varelia stretched like a gleaming jewel on the edge of the galactic frontier, its spires piercing the violet skies of a distant world, bathed in the glow of twin suns that never truly set. Among its crowded streets and towering arcologies moved countless beings from myriad star systems, each bearing the marks of their culture, their hopes, and their fears. Yet amid this vibrant mosaic, there was one figure who carried a burden far heavier than most. A young woman named Lasara, whose stature was as delicate as a whisper and whose heart was shackled by the relentless expectations of a society that demanded she diminish herself to fit within its narrow confines. Lasara belonged to the Zauri, a race known for their lithe forms and shimmering, opalescent skin that caught the light like fragments of the cosmos. They were graceful and intelligent, but their culture was steeped in traditions that prized humility and subtlety above all else. From the moment she was born, Lasara had been told, by family, elders, and peers alike, that to survive and thrive, she must make herself small figuratively and literally. Shrink her ambitions, her voice, her presence. Let others take the spotlight. In a world ruled by strict hierarchies and rigid customs, standing out was a dangerous game. So Lasara learned to fold herself into shadows, to mute her radiant spirit beneath layers of self-imposed invisibility. Each day was a delicate dance of restraint. In the academy where she trained among the brightest minds of her people, Lasara's brilliance was acknowledged quietly, but never celebrated openly. Her ideas were carefully phrased, never loud or bold, lest they attract unwanted attention. Even her physical presence was shaped by generations of silent pressure. She walked with bowed shoulders, head lowered, voice soft and deferential. It was a survival tactic, a social code etched into her very being. Yet beneath this practiced humility, a fire flickered, an ember of yearning for something more, a desire to claim a space in the vast galaxy that was unapologetically hers. The turning point came not from her own people, but from a visitor unlike any Lasara had ever encountered. Humans were rare in Varelia, seen as brash and unpredictable, their species marked by a restless energy and a fierce independence that both fascinated and unsettled the Zauri. The human, Captain Elias Mercer, arrived aboard the Starfire, a sleek vessel cutting through space like a blade of starlight. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with eyes that seemed to look beyond the surface, seeing things others missed. His presence was commanding but unassuming, a paradox that intrigued Lasara from the moment their paths crossed. Their first encounter was in the bustling marketplace beneath the city's great domes, where merchants hawked exotic wares, and the air hummed with the melodies of alien tongues. Lasara was drawn to a stall displaying ancient artifacts, relics from forgotten worlds, their histories etched in symbols she longed to decipher. Elias approached with easy confidence, speaking in the common tongue, but with a cadence that betrayed his Earth origins. They spoke cautiously at first, exchanging questions and stories across the gulf of their cultures. Yet as the conversation deepened, Lasara felt a stirring within, a gentle yet insistent call to shed the shadows she had cloaked herself in for so long. Elias listened without judgment as Lasara revealed the subtle chains that bound her, the expectations to shrink, to conform, to silence her true self. He did not offer platitudes or advice. Instead, he asked a simple question that pierced the veil of her doubts. Why do you hide when you were born to stand tall? His words were neither command nor plea, but a quiet invitation to reclaim the space she had long denied herself. In the days that followed, their meetings became a refuge for Lasara, a place where she dared to imagine a different way of being. Elias showed her glimpses of his world, where individuals were celebrated for their uniqueness, where standing tall was not arrogance, but courage. Through shared stories beneath the twin suns and amidst the city's soaring heights, Lasara began to unlearn the lessons of diminishment, discovering strength in her voice and grace in her presence. Each step she took towards light was a rebellion against the shadows, a declaration that she was more than the sum of others' expectations. Yet the path was fraught with challenges. The Zauri elders watched with suspicion, whispering warnings of human influence and cultural contamination. Friends who once offered quiet support now questioned her choices, fearful of change that threatened the fragile harmony of their society. Lysara faced the painful reality that standing taller meant standing apart, that embracing her true self required sacrifices both personal and profound. But Elias stood unwavering beside her, a steadfast anchor in turbulent seas. His belief in her potential was a beacon that cut through the darkness, reminding her that true strength came not from shrinking, but from rising above fear, doubt, and the confines of tradition. Together, they envisioned a future where Lysara's people could shed the chains of invisibility and step into a new era of empowerment and unity. As the twin suns dipped below Virelia's horizon, casting long shadows across the city, Lysara stood on a balcony overlooking the sprawling metropolis. The weight of centuries pressed upon her, but beneath it, a new resolve took root. The human had asked her to stand taller, and for the first time, she saw not a burden, but a promise that she could be both radiant and strong, both humble and unapologetically herself. The journey ahead was uncertain and steeped in risk, but Lysara knew that in embracing her true stature, she was not just transforming her own life, but igniting a spark that could illuminate the galaxy. Chapter 2. The Unfolding Horizon of Courage. The dawn over Virelia came not with the gentle easing of light, but as a sweeping tide of colors washing across the sky, blues bleeding into purples, streaks of gold igniting the clouds, promising a new day yet heavy with the weight of change. For Lysara, the morning was unlike any she had ever known. Her heart was a turbulent ocean of hope and fear, the echoes of Elias's simple yet profound words reverberating in her mind. Why do you hide when you were born to stand tall? The question, like a seed planted in fertile soil, had begun to grow, challenging everything she had accepted as immutable. Today was the day she would begin to stand taller, not just in body, but in spirit, voice, and vision. Her first steps were hesitant, as if testing a new path in a familiar forest. The academy where she trained, once a place of quiet conformity, now felt different, a labyrinth of possibilities and silent judgments. She walked with a subtle change in posture, shoulders lifted, chin raised slightly, eyes meeting those around her rather than fixed on the ground. Her voice, once soft and careful, carried a new clarity, a confidence that startled even herself. When she spoke in discussions, she no longer prefaced her thoughts with apologies or deferments, but presented them with the conviction of one claiming her rightful space. The ripple effect was immediate and profound. Peers who had barely noticed her before now cast glances tinged with curiosity and unease. Elders furrowed brows, whispers threading through the marble halls like a gathering storm. Tradition was a tide difficult to turn, and those anchored to its familiar shore viewed Lysara's transformation as a threatened, unsettling disruption of the order that had defined generations. Yet amidst the resistance, there were flickers of admiration, secret nods of solidarity from those who, like her, had felt the invisible chains of expectation tighten too long. Lysara was no longer merely a shadow. She was a spark, igniting a quiet revolution within her world. Outside the academy, the city itself seemed to respond. The vibrant markets that had once overwhelmed her senses with noise and bustle now felt alive with possibility. Colors she had been taught to avoid, rich reds, deep blues, shimmering silvers called to her, and she began to wear garments that celebrated rather than concealed her essence. Her skin, a canvas of shifting opalescent hues, caught the light in new ways, reflecting a growing pride in her heritage and individuality. Each choice was a statement, a rebellion against the script written for her before birth. Elias remained a constant presence in her unfolding journey, his own world a stark contrast of wild landscapes and chaotic cities where individuality was a birthright rather than a burden. Through long conversations beneath the dome of the twin suns, he shared stories of Earth's struggles and triumphs, tales of people who had fought to be seen and heard, who had dared to stand tall in the face of overwhelming odds. These stories wove into Lysara's soul, providing strength and perspective. He challenged her gently but persistently, encouraging her to push boundaries and redefine her own limits. Yet, the deeper her transformation, the more complex the challenges became. The cultural divide between Zauri tradition and human freedom was not merely a matter of custom, but of identity and survival. Elders summoned her for counsel, their voices a mixture of concern and reproach. "You risk fracturing the harmony of our people," they warned. "To stand too tall is to invite envy, isolation, even exile." The weight of their words was crushing, but Lysara had tasted the air beyond the shadows, and retreat was no longer an option. She realized that standing taller meant not just courage but sacrifice, a willingness to face loneliness and judgment in pursuit of truth. Friends who once walked beside her began to falter, some whispering doubts, others turning away altogether. The bonds of shared history strained under the pressure of change. But even as old ties frayed, new connections blossomed, alliances forged with those who believed in a future unshackled by fear. Together, they dreamed of a society where height of spirit was celebrated as much as height of form, where voices rose in harmony rather than hushed submission. In this crucible of conflict and growth, Lysara discovered inner reserves of resilience she had never known. She embraced rituals and practices that deepened her connection to her people's ancient wisdom, blending them with new insights gleaned from human philosophies. Meditation beneath the twin moons, ceremonies of light and sound, acts of service to the community all became pathways to grounding her soaring aspirations. Her transformation was not a rejection of heritage but a reclamation of it, a healing of wounds inflicted by generations of silence. Meanwhile, Elias faced his own battles beyond the city's borders. Political tensions simmered between human factions and alien governments, suspicion and prejudice threatening to unravel fragile alliances. His unwavering support for Lysara and his advocacy for cross-cultural understanding positioned him as both a bridge and a target. The galaxy was watching, its future teetering on the edge of cooperation or chaos. Yet he remained steadfast, believing in the power of individuals to shape worlds. One evening, as the twin suns dipped beneath the horizon and the first stars pierced the twilight, Lysara stood atop Virelia's highest spire. The wind whispered around her, carrying scents of distant seas and ancient forests, the echoes of a galaxy both vast and intimate. She raised her arms, feeling the pulse of life and possibility surge through her veins. The city below was a tapestry of light and shadow, but she was no longer part of the dimming background. She was a beacon, a testament to what could be achieved when one dared to stand taller. Her journey was far from complete. The road ahead promised challenges, yet unknown clashes of tradition and progress, battles for hearts and minds, and the ever-present struggle to reconcile identity with change. But with each step, Lysara grew stronger, her voice louder, her presence more undeniable. The human had asked her to stand taller, and she had answered with the courage to rise, to shine, and to inspire. The horizon stretched wide and welcoming, a canvas for dreams yet painted, and Lysara, once told to shrink herself, now embraced the infinite possibilities of standing tall. Chapter 3. The Reckoning of Self and Society. The city of Virelia had become both a battlefield and a sanctuary, its glittering streets and towering spires now stages for a profound confrontation between old-world tradition and new-world awakening. Lysara's transformation from the quiet shadow she once was into a radiant figure standing tall had not gone unnoticed. In every whispered conversation and every piercing glance, the ripples of change spread far beyond her immediate circle, challenging the very foundations of the Zauri society that had bound her in invisible chains for so long. Yet, amid the growing unrest, Lysara stood firm, a beacon of defiance and hope amid the encroaching storm. The elders, guardians of customs that had shaped the Zauri for millennia, convened in solemn chambers carved from luminescent crystal, their faces etched with concern and resolve. To them, Lysara's burgeoning confidence was not a triumph but a threat, dangerous fracture in the delicate fabric of societal harmony. They feared that the fires she ignited could consume not only her, but the fragile balance of their civilization, a balance maintained through strict adherence to humility, conformity, and control. Their voices carried the weight of history as they debated whether to silence her rising light or risk the chaos of transformation. Yet, for every word of caution, there were murmurs of curiosity and even admiration among the younger generations. Many Zauri who had long felt suffocated by the relentless demand to shrink themselves found in Lasara a mirror of their own hidden desires. Secret gatherings formed in the shadowed corners of Virelia, where ideas of freedom and individuality took root and blossomed, fueled by tales of distant worlds and the human spirit that Elias embodied. Lasara became more than a person. She became a symbol, a living testament to the possibility of a future where one could stand tall without fear. This burgeoning movement did not escape the attention of the city's ruling council, a body as rigid and unyielding as the crystalline towers they governed. They dispatched envoys to warn Lasara, urging her to return to the fold, to abandon what they called reckless ambition for the sake of peace. The council's messages were laced with veiled threats and promises of exile, of being cast out from the very society that had nurtured her. The choice laid bare before Lasara was stark: submit and fade back into obscurity, or embrace the perilous path of change and face the consequences. With Elias by her side, Lasara chose the latter. Together, they navigated the labyrinthine politics and social currents of Virelia, forging alliances with those who believed in progress and challenging those who clung to the past. Elias's human perspective brought fresh insights, his stories of Earth's struggles and revolutions resonating deeply with the Zauri youth who craved transformation. Their partnership was a fusion of cultures, a bridge across the vast divides that separated their worlds. Yet, it was also a source of tension, as suspicion and prejudice simmered beneath the surface, threatening to unravel their fragile unity. Amid these societal upheavals, Lasara's personal journey unfolded with profound intensity. Each step toward standing taller required confronting not only external resistance, but the shadows within herself. Years of conditioning had left scars, doubts, and fears that whispered she was unworthy, that her light would blind and alienate those she loved. In quiet moments, she grappled with the loneliness of being a trailblazer, the pain of lost friendships and fractured bonds. Yet, with every challenge, she unearthed reserves of strength, resilience forged in the crucible of adversity. Her growing influence sparked cultural renaissance. Artists began to paint and sculpt themes of liberation. Poets wrote verses celebrating individuality and courage. Musicians composed melodies that stirred souls to awaken. The city pulsed with a new energy, a vibrant tapestry woven from threads of tradition and innovation. Virelia became a living testament to the power of standing tall, its skyline a symbol of dreams breaking free from the shadows. But the path was far from smooth. Sabotage and dissent lurked in dark corners, whispers of conspiracy, efforts to discredit Lasara, and orchestrated acts to undermine the movement. Shadows that sought to snuff out the burgeoning light grew ever more insidious. Lasara and Elias found themselves navigating threats both overt and covert, their every action scrutinized, their trust tested. The struggle was no longer just for personal liberation, but for the soul of their world. One pivotal night, beneath the twin moons that bathed Virelia in silvery light, Lasara addressed a gathering unlike any before. The great plaza was filled with thousands young and old, hopeful and wary, united by the magnetic force of change. Her voice, strong and clear, carried across the crowd, weaving a spell of unity and resolve. She spoke not just of standing taller in body but in spirit, calling on her people to embrace their true selves and forge a future unbound by fear. Her words ignited flames in hearts, kindling courage where there had been doubt. As the city held its breath, the message of standing tall spread beyond Virelia, reaching neighboring systems and distant worlds. It became a beacon for others who had long hidden in shadows, a call to rise and claim their rightful place. Lasara's journey, once solitary and fraught with hesitation, had blossomed into a movement that transcended borders and species. It was the reckoning of self and society, the dawn of a new era where the smallest voices could become the loudest cries for freedom. Yet, beneath the triumph, Lasara remained vigilant. She understood that standing tall was not a destination, but a continual act of courage, a commitment to face new challenges with unwavering resolve. With Elias, she prepared to confront the forces that still sought to keep their world in darkness, knowing that the true test of their strength was yet to come. Together, They stood as living proof that the universe had made her for greatness, not hiding, inviting all who would listen to rise and shine in their fullest light. Chapter 4. The horizon unfolds, standing taller together. The dawn that broke over Virilia was unlike any before it, a slow crescendo of light spilling across the vast cityscape, igniting the crystalline towers and floating gardens in hues of gold and amber. The twin suns, long hidden behind veils of mist and tradition, shone fiercely in the clear skies, bathing the world in warmth and possibility. This day was not merely a passage of time, but a milestone in the history of a people, a day when shadows receded and the horizon unfolded wide and welcoming. Lysara stood at the pinnacle of the great spire, her silhouette a striking contrast against the sky, tall and unyielding, embodying the journey she had undertaken from quiet submission to bold rebellion, from invisible whispers to resounding voice. The city below pulsed with life and transformation. Streets once echoing with cautious steps now hummed with the vibrant energy of change. Markets overflowed with colors and sounds that celebrated individuality. Artists painted murals of soaring figures breaking chains, poets recited verses that stirred the soul, and musicians filled the air with rhythms that echoed the heartbeat of a renewed society. The cultural renaissance that Lysara had helped ignite was not a fleeting moment, but a sweeping tide, washing away the dust of old fears and prejudices. Every face in the crowd carried a story of struggle and hope, each step forward a testament to the courage to stand taller. Yet beneath the jubilant surface, the undercurrents of tension remained, a reminder that the path of change was never free of resistance. The ruling council, once rigid and unyielding, now found itself at a crossroads. Some among them had begun to see the strength in Lysara's vision, acknowledging that survival demanded adaptation and growth. Others clung desperately to the old ways, their fears manifesting in political maneuvering and attempts to sow discord. The delicate balance of power trembled as alliances shifted, old rivalries flared, and new leaders emerged from the vibrant chorus of voices demanding a future unbound by silence. Lysara knew that her journey was entwined with this unfolding reckoning. She was no longer just a figurehead or symbol, but an active force shaping the destiny of her people. Each decision she made, each word she spoke, rippled across the social fabric, challenging norms and inspiring transformation. With Elias by her side, a steadfast partner whose humanity brought both contrast and complement, she navigated the complex interplay of culture, politics, and heart. Together, they embodied the unity of worlds and the power of standing taller not alone, but as one. Their partnership had deepened beyond alliance into a fusion of spirit and purpose. Elias's Stories of Earth, with its turbulent history of struggle for rights and recognition, lent perspective and hope. Lysara's embrace of her heritage and the wisdom of her ancestors grounded their vision in timeless strength. Together, they stood as living proof that growth and change were not betrayals, but evolutions necessary and beautiful. Their love, a quiet yet profound force, became a beacon for others, illuminating a path where differences were celebrated rather than feared. In the weeks that followed, the city witnessed unprecedented gatherings, forums where voices rose in passionate debate, workshops that rekindled ancient crafts alongside cutting-edge innovation, and celebrations that honored both the past and the future. Lysara led with humility and conviction, listening as much as speaking, weaving together a tapestry of hopes and fears, dreams and realities. She understood that standing taller was not an act of arrogance, but an ongoing dialogue, a dance between strength and vulnerability, tradition and transformation. But no revolution is without its shadows. Whispers of dissent grew louder in darkened halls and shadowed alleys. Forces resistant to change, those who profited from the status quo or feared loss of control, plotted in silence. Attempts to undermine the movement took shape in misinformation campaigns, sabotage of public projects, and threats aimed at silencing key voices. Lysara and Elias faced these challenges with resolve and grace, their bond and shared vision their strongest defense. They called for unity, for vigilance, and for courage to confront fear with love. One evening, as the twin moons cast their silver light across the city, Lysara stood before a gathering unlike any before. The great plaza was filled with thousands Zauri and humans, young and old, hopeful and wary, drawn by the magnetic promise of a new dawn. Her voice, steady and clear, carried across the crowd as she spoke not just of change, but of responsibility. The responsibility to nurture the light within and to stand tall for those still lost in shadows. She spoke of a future forged together, where differences were bridges, not barriers, where every soul had a place and a voice. Her words ignited hearts and minds. The plaza erupted in a chorus of affirmation, a wave of shared purpose and renewed hope. In that moment, Lysara was no longer simply an individual rising above. She was the embodiment of a collective awakening. The journey from shrinking in the face of expectation to standing taller than ever had become a movement that transcended species and stars. As the celebrations continued, Lysara and Elias looked toward the horizon, knowing their work was far from over. The galaxy awaited with new challenges and unknown wonders, and the lessons of standing tall, of courage, compassion, and connection would be their guide. Together, they would carry the legacy forward, inspiring countless others to embrace their own light and rise beyond the shadows. The story of Lysara, once told to shrink herself, had become a story of empowerment and transformation, a testament that the universe was vast enough for every star to shine brightly, for every voice to be heard, and for every soul to stand taller. The movement Lysara had ignited surged beyond Virelia's crystalline spires, like a tide spilling over the shores of countless worlds. Word of her courage, and the alliance forged with the human Elias, spread across the stars, carried by messengers and transmitted on countless frequencies. The ancient traditions that once demanded silence and smallness began to crack beneath the weight of awakening voices. Across star systems, those who had been taught to hide their light or mask their ambitions found new courage in Lysara's example. Her story became a beacon, not just of rebellion, but of hope, inspiring others to stand taller, to claim their space in a galaxy too long governed by fear and conformity. But transformation is never without sacrifice. The old powers, fearing loss of control, unleashed subtle and overt resistance. Political factions hostile to change mounted campaigns of misinformation designed to fracture the fragile unity Lysara and Elias had built. Secret operatives infiltrated peaceful gatherings, sowing discord and suspicion. Attempts were made on the lives of movement leaders, and economic pressures sought to suffocate the budding cultural renaissance. Yet each attack only strengthened the resolve of those who believed in a new vision, a future where identity was a source of pride, not shame, and standing tall was a right, not a privilege. Lysara herself became a symbol of this struggle. She faced the weight of expectation and danger with a grace born of profound inner strength. Late nights were spent in council with Elias and trusted allies, planning responses to threats while nurturing the movement's growth. Her personal sacrifices were immense, friendships strained to breaking, moments of loneliness that tested the very core of her resolve. But in those quiet moments of doubt, she remembered Elias's words and the promise she had made to herself, to never shrink again, to live fully and freely, no matter the cost. Elias, too, confronted challenges that went beyond personal courage. His role as a human ambassador in an alien world brought scrutiny and skepticism from both his own people and the Zauri. Navigating the complexities of interstellar politics, he sought to build bridges where suspicion and prejudice had long ruled. His unwavering support of Lysara and her movement often put him at odds with powerful interests seeking to maintain the status quo. Yet his belief in unity and respect fueled his determination, and his growing bond with Lysara became a living testament to what could be achieved when worlds embraced rather than feared difference. Together, Lysara and Elias spearheaded initiatives that transformed Virelia and beyond. Educational reforms introduced curricula celebrating diversity and individual expression alongside tradition. Art and culture flourished as new voices found platforms to share stories of empowerment and resilience. Governance shifted toward inclusivity and dialogue, with formerly marginalized communities gaining representation and influence. These changes rippled outward, inspiring allied worlds to rethink their own societal structures and values. A defining moment came when Lasara was invited to speak at the Intergalactic Assembly, a council composed of leaders from across the known universe. As she stood before the Assembly's grand chamber, the weight of history pressing upon her, she spoke not only of her journey but of the universal right to stand tall. Her voice, clear and resonant, wove a powerful narrative of transformation, a call to embrace change with courage and compassion, to celebrate the light within every individual, and to build societies where no one need shrink to survive. Her words stirred hearts and minds alike. Applause echoed through the chamber, and for the first time, many representatives felt the true power of inclusion and acceptance. The Assembly's resolutions began to shift, paving the way for policies that honored diversity and empowered the disenfranchised. The galaxy, long fractured by fear and division, glimpsed a future where unity and respect could prevail. As peace settled over Virilia like a gentle dawn, Lasara and Elias stood once more atop the great spire. The city stretched below them, a living tapestry of light, color, and renewed hope. The stars above twinkled with promise, and the twin moons cast a serene glow over the world they had helped to transform. Lasara no longer felt the burden of shrinking or hiding. She was a beacon, a living proof of what it meant to stand taller in body and spirit. Their journey was far from over, for transformation is eternal, and the challenges of sustaining change persist. But together, they had ignited a movement that would ripple through the cosmos for generations to come. In standing taller, they had not only changed themselves but the fate of a people, a culture, and perhaps the entire galaxy. The universe, vast and infinite, held countless stories yet to be told, stories of courage, love, and the unyielding desire to shine. Lasara's story, once of silence and shrinking, had become a testament to the power of standing tall, a legacy of hope lighting the way for all who dare to be seen.